Most people do not stay poor because of bad luck, bad timing, or even bad decisions made in a single moment. They stay poor because of something quieter, running underneath every decision they ever make. A mindset, and nobody sits them down to explain that the mindset itself was optional the whole time. Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago, long before anyone used the word mindset at all. He studied rulers who rose from nothing and rulers who inherited everything and lost it within a decade. And the pattern he kept finding had almost nothing to do with the resources either one started with. It had to do with how each of them actually thought moment to moment under pressure. Fortune, he argued, favors those whose thinking already matches the world as it actually is, not the world as they wish it were. This is not a video about tactics. You already know the tactics. Save money, invest early, build a business. Everyone knows the tactics, and most people still stay exactly where they started because tactics built on top of the wrong mindset simply collapse the first time life gets difficult. This is a video about the 7 quiet shifts in thinking that separate the people who eventually build real wealth from the people who spend their whole life explaining quite convincingly why they never quite got there. Think about how strange it actually is that 2 people can read the same book, attend the same seminar, even work the identical job for the identical decade, and end up in entirely different financial realities. The information was not the variable. The advice was identical. What differed invisibly was the lens each of them ran that information through before deciding what to actually do with it. One lens distorted every opportunity into a reason to wait. The other sharpened the same opportunity into a reason to move. Nobody hands you that lens. You either inherit it by accident or you build it deliberately. Some of what follows will feel uncomfortable. Good. Comfort was never the goal. Direction was. None of these 7 require more talent than you already have. They require noticing which lens you've been running your decisions through without ever examining it, and being willing to swap it for a sharper one even when the old one felt comfortable. Rule number 1, stop chasing approval, start building leverage. Most people spend an enormous amount of energy trying to be liked. They soften their opinions in meetings. They avoid the ask that might make someone uncomfortable. They measure their own worth by how warmly a room responds to them. This feels safe. It is also quietly one of the most expensive habits a person can carry because approval and leverage are almost never the same currency, and chasing one usually costs you the other. This is the mindset shift that quietly underlies almost every other one on this list, which is exactly why it comes first. Every subsequent shift asks you to occasionally disappoint a room in order to serve a longer goal. And none of them are possible if disappointing a room still feels unbearable to you. Picture 2 employees at the same company. The first spends his energy being agreeable, always available. Never the one who pushes back, beloved by everyone and promoted by no one. Because being pleasant was never actually the scarce resource the company needed. The second spends his energy becoming genuinely difficult to replace. The one person who understands the system nobody else bothered to learn. Blunt when bluntness is useful, warm only when warmth actually serves something. 5 years later, the first man is still liked. The second man is the one nobody can afford to lose. And being indispensable pays in ways being agreeable never will. Machiavelli was blunt about this exact trade. It is safer, he wrote, to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Because love is a bond, people break the moment it's convenient, while genuine necessity is not so easily discarded. You do not need to be feared to apply the lesson. You need to stop confusing being liked with being valuable. Because only one of the 2 actually protects you when things get difficult. Notice what actually happens the moment a company needs to make cuts. The well-liked employee, the one everyone enjoys having in the room, is frequently the first one let go. Because likability was never load-bearing. The indispensable one, even the one a few people find abrasive, survives almost every round because removing him costs the organization something real. This is not a coincidence, and it is not unfair. It is simply what happens when a decision finally gets made on value instead of on warmth. The uncomfortable part of this shift is that it asks you to tolerate being misunderstood, occasionally even disliked, in exchange for becoming genuinely necessary. Most people flinch at that trade before they've even tested it, because a room's disapproval feels immediate, and a room's dependency feels abstract until the day it isn't. This does not mean becoming needlessly harsh or manufacturing conflict to seem important. It means noticing every time you soften a true statement purely to keep the room comfortable, and asking what that habit has actually cost you across a year, a decade, a career. Once you add every small concession together, approval is rented, leverage is owned. Stop paying rent on a currency that was never going to make you rich. Rule number 2, trade perfect plans for fast motion. Most people delay action until the plan feels finished, and the plan never feels finished because certainty is not actually available before you start, only after. This is the quiet trap hiding inside every piece of advice that tells you to do your research first. Research has no natural stopping point. Motion does. Notice that the version of you paralyzed by an unfinished plan and the version of you comfortable shipping something rough are not different in intelligence or resources. They differ only in how much uncertainty each is willing to tolerate before acting, and tolerance for uncertainty is a muscle, not a fixed trait. 2 people want to start the same small venture. The first spends 8 months building the perfect plan, competitor analysis, financial projections, a business name focus grouped into blandness. The second spends 8 days building something rough and ugly, sells it to 5 real strangers, and adjusts based on what actually happened rather than what a spreadsheet predicted. A year later, the first person is still refining a plan nobody has tested. The second person has failed, adjusted, and failed again, and has learned more from 3 real mistakes than the first will learn from 30 hypothetical scenarios. Machiavelli's own advice to rulers was rarely, "Wait until you're certain." It was closer to, "Fortune rewards boldness and punishes quietly and patiently the ones who hesitate until the window is already closed." A flawed plan in motion gathers real information. A perfect plan on paper gathers nothing but time. Notice what the planning itself is usually protecting. Endless research feels productive, and it carries almost none of the risk that actually shipping something carries, which is exactly why it's so easy to mistake for progress. A plan can't be criticized. A plan can't fail publicly. A plan can't reveal that you might have gotten something wrong in front of people who are watching. The moment you actually launch the rough version, all 3 of those become possible again, and avoiding that discomfort is the real reason most plans never leave the page. Ask yourself honestly how many of your own unfinished plans were actually waiting on more information, and how many were waiting on you to become willing to be seen trying. Speed does not mean recklessness, and it does not mean skipping thought entirely. It means shrinking the distance between deciding something is worth trying and actually finding out from months down to days, so that whatever you learn arrives while it can still change something. The market does not pay you for the plan you almost started. It pays you for the one you actually shipped. Rule number 3, never compete where everyone else is standing. Most people, when they decide to build something, look at what is already working and try to do a slightly better version of it. This feels safe, because demand is already proven. It is also, almost always, the most expensive place to compete, because everyone capable saw the same opportunity and arrived at the same crowded room. This requires a specific kind of discipline most people never develop. The willingness to walk away from a proven, crowded opportunity in favor of an unproven, quiet one, purely because the arithmetic of an uncontested position beats the arithmetic of a contested one, even when the second option looks smaller on paper. Two founders both notice the same growing market. The first builds the obvious version, competing directly against a dozen well-funded rivals on price, on features, on marketing spend he cannot match. The second studies the exact same market and asks a different question entirely. What is everyone here refusing to serve? He finds the overlooked segment nobody wanted to bother with and builds specifically for it, uncontested. The first founder spends 3 years fighting for scraps in a crowded room. The second owns an entire room nobody else thought was worth entering. This is a distinctly Machiavellian instinct, even if he never used modern business language for it. He understood that a smaller, undefended position, held completely, beats a larger, contested one, fought over endlessly. Power is not just about strength. It is about where you choose to apply it. The crowded room feels safer for a specific psychological reason. It comes with proof the demand is real since everyone else is already fighting over it. The uncontested room offers no such proof up front, only a bet that the overlooked segment was overlooked for a bad reason rather than a good one. Most people are unwilling to make that bet, which is precisely why the uncontested room stays uncontested long enough for the few willing to actually check. This does not mean choosing the strange option purely to be different. It means asking a sharper question before joining any crowd. Are they here because this is genuinely the best ground, or because it was simply the first ground anyone noticed? The overlooked segment rarely announces itself as an opportunity. It usually looks at first glance like a reason nobody bothered, a market too small, too unglamorous, or too inconvenient to serve properly. That appearance is precisely what keeps it uncontested long enough for someone patient to actually check whether the inconvenience was real or simply unexamined. Fighting where everyone else already stands does not prove your ambition. It proves you looked for the easiest place to start, which is exactly why it's the hardest place to win. Rule number 4, guard your timing like a weapon. Most people react the instant they feel something. The instant they're insulted, they respond. The instant an opportunity appears, they grab it. The instant fear shows up, they retreat. This feels like decisiveness. It is usually the opposite. It's being controlled by whatever just happened, rather than controlling what happens next. This is uncomfortable specifically because withholding a reaction can feel, in the moment, like dishonesty, like pretending not to feel something you clearly feel. It isn't. It's simply refusing to hand your timing to whoever just spoke, which is a form of self-respect disguised as restraint. Two negotiators sit across the same table. The first, offended by a low opening offer, snaps back immediately, revealing exactly how much the deal matters to him in the process. The second lets the silence sit a full 10 seconds longer than feels comfortable, says nothing revealing, and responds only once he has chosen his moment rather than had it chosen for him. The first negotiator loses leverage in the exact second he reacted. The second one keeps his signal unreadable, and unreadable is exactly what makes him dangerous across the table. Machiavelli wrote at length about rulers who acted the instant they felt strong emotion and how predictably it destroyed them, because an emotional reaction is a signal broadcast to everyone watching, including the people planning to use it against you. Timing withheld is information withheld, and information withheld is leverage kept. This is harder than it sounds because reacting instantly is the default setting almost everyone is running. Slowing your own response down long enough to choose it deliberately requires tolerating a few uncomfortable seconds of silence. Seconds that feel in the moment like weakness. They are the opposite. The room reads composure as strength precisely because composure is rare enough to notice. None of this means never feeling the emotion. It means refusing to let the emotion choose your next move for you, which is a very different thing from suppressing it entirely. Practically, this looks like a pause most people skip entirely. One breath, one beat, one deliberate delay between the moment something happens and the moment you respond to it. That single beat is often the entire difference between a reaction that gives away your position and a response that protects it. Whoever reacts first in a room is usually just told everyone else exactly how to beat them. Rule number 5, become a producer, not just a consumer. Most people spend the majority of their waking hours consuming content, opinions, other people's finished work, scrolling past 100 ideas a day and building nothing from any of them. This feels like staying informed. It is actually the single most reliable way to stay exactly where you are because consuming somebody else's output will never, on its own, produce any output of your own. This shift is uncomfortable because producing is slower and more exposed than consuming, and it offers no guarantee the thing you make will be any good. Consuming carries no such risk, which is exactly why it's so easy to choose by default, night after night, without ever quite deciding to. Two people spend the identical 2 hours every evening on their phone. The first watches videos about other people building businesses, feels genuinely inspired, closes the app, and goes to sleep having produced nothing. The second spends those same 2 hours building a rough version of one small thing. A product listing, a piece of writing, a service pitch, however unpolished. A year of those evenings compounds into 2 entirely different lives, not because one person was smarter, but because one of them was producing while the other was only watching people who already had. This is the quiet edge Machiavelli granted only to the active. Fortune, he said, is a river that floods the passive and rewards only the ones already building the channels to catch it. Passive consumption feels like progress because it fills the exact same hours that building would have filled. It produces none of the same result. The trap is specifically designed to feel productive. Watching someone else explain a strategy activates something close to the same satisfaction as executing it yourself, without any of the friction, which is exactly why it's so easy to mistake the two for years at a time. Nobody consumes content about building wealth because they intend to stay poor. They consume it because consuming feels in the moment indistinguishable from progress. The test is simple, if uncomfortable. At the end of any given week, is there anything that exists now which did not exist 7 days ago, something you actually made? If the honest answer is no, the hours were spent on someone else's output, not your own. This is not an argument against ever consuming anything. It's an argument for treating consumption as fuel for production rather than a substitute for it, so that every idea absorbed has somewhere real to go afterward instead of simply queuing up behind the next one. Every hour spent only consuming what someone else built is an hour not spent building the thing that could have been yours. Rule number 6, see the game. Never take it personally. Most people experience rejection, criticism, or a closed door as a verdict on their worth as a person. This feels natural. It is also one of the most paralyzing mindsets available because the moment you take the game personally, you stop being able to see it clearly enough to actually play it. This is not about pretending rejection doesn't sting. It always stings for everyone without exception. The shift is in how quickly you're willing to set the sting down and return to studying the board, rather than carrying it uninvited into the next 10 conversations. 2 salespeople hear the identical rejection from the identical prospect. The first absorbs it as evidence he is bad at this, bad at people, maybe bad in general. And the sting follows him into the next 5 calls, quietly sabotaging each one. The second treats the rejection as information about this specific prospect, this specific moment, nothing more, and moves to the next call with his composure completely intact. Over 100 calls, the difference in outcome between these two mindsets is not small. It is the entire difference between a career and a phase someone quit during. Machiavelli's entire framework treats power and fortune as a game with patterns, not a referendum on any single player's character. Rulers who took political setbacks as personal humiliation made worse decisions in response every time than rulers who saw the same setback as one move in a longer contest. Detachment is not coldness. It's the only vantage point clear enough to actually adjust your strategy from. This shift is not about caring less. It's about locating the sting somewhere it can actually be useful. A rejection examined calmly can teach you something real about your pitch, your timing, or your market. A rejection absorbed personally teaches you only that you should have felt bad, which changes nothing about tomorrow's calls. Notice how a single bad meeting can quietly poison an entire week for someone who took it personally, while the same meeting barely registers a day later for someone who simply logged it as data and moved on. Neither person controlled the rejection. Only one of them controlled what it was allowed to cost afterward. Ask which version of yourself shows up after a bad week. The one still replaying the insult or the one already studying what it revealed? Only one of those two is actually still playing the game. The moment a setback becomes personal, you stop studying the board and start nursing the wound instead. Rule number 7. Let patience compound while others panic. Most people evaluate every decision by how it feels within days or weeks and abandon good decisions simply because the reward hasn't arrived yet on the timeline their impatience demands. This feels like responsiveness. It is usually just short-termism wearing a more flattering name. This shift asks for something genuinely rare, the discipline to keep showing up for a result you cannot yet see any evidence of, on nothing but the strength of your own earlier reasoning. Most people can manage that for a week. Considerably fewer can manage it for the years compounding actually requires. Two investors, so to speak, plant the identical seed. The first checks on it daily, becomes convinced within a month that nothing is happening, pulls it out to try something else, and repeats this same cycle for a decade, always uprooting right before the compounding would have become visible. The second plants it and simply leaves it alone for years, tolerating the boring, invisible middle where nothing appears to be happening, until the exact same seed the first man abandoned early has quietly become something enormous. The gap between them was never intelligence. It was tolerance for an unglamorous, silent, unrewarded middle. Machiavelli warned rulers against exactly this kind of impatience, that abandoning a sound strategy the moment it stops producing immediate, visible proof is how strong positions get thrown away for nothing. Compounding does not announce itself while it's happening. It only becomes obvious in hindsight, by which point the patient ones are already unreachable, and the impatient ones are already telling a story about bad luck. The cruelest part of this trap is that the invisible middle looks identical whether the strategy is working or failing. Nothing observable distinguishes the version where the seed is quietly building roots from the version where it was planted in bad soil from the start, which is exactly why panic and patience feel like a coin flip in the moment, even though only one of them is actually the correct read almost every time. This is not an argument for patience with a strategy that was never sound to begin with. It's an argument for finishing the timeline you already decided was reasonable before rewriting the decision out of discomfort alone. Decide the honest timeline before you start, while you're still thinking clearly, rather than in month 3 when boredom and doubt are the ones actually making the call. A decision made in advance survives the invisible middle. A decision made in the middle of it rarely does. The reward was never late. Most people simply quit checking right before it arrived. If any part of this shifted the way you see your own thinking, then don't stop here, because what you've heard in this video is only the surface. There are deeper layers to psychology, influence, and wealth that simply can't be explored fully in one video. Not because they don't exist, but because most people aren't ready to hear them. That's why most people stay average. If you're not one of them, then subscribe, because every video here is designed to sharpen your mindset, increase your value, and separate you from the crowd. No fluff, no noise, just strategy. Most people will watch this and move on. A few will stay and change. Decide which one you are.